everybody, and welcome back to Yeah, We Read It. My name is Laura. I am one of your hosts.
And my name is Meggie, and I am your other host.
And we are here with the much-anticipated conclusion to the first Twilight book, notably titled Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. We last left off with them kissing after Edward ran really fast through the woods.
Yeah, after he was like, come on, coward, get on my back. And then they kissed because he couldn't control himself anymore. He just couldn't do it.
This was notably after they didn't kiss, and he had to go on a little temper tantrum rampage talking about how fast and strong he was and how he could break her like a little twig, not in a sexy way.
Exactly.
And this was also after he made her walk 5 miles on an untrailed terrain. And then just to be like, by the way, I could have run us there the entire time.
I'm very excited for when we get more into like them almost kind of like doing adult things romantically, because it really comes through that Edward is just such a virgin.
And like literally, like, buddy, you're 400 years old. Lose it already.
I know, you would think it's like sex is one of the more enjoyable things in life.
I mean, I wonder if it's just like maybe if he was raised super Catholic in the 1700s, he would be like, absolutely not. But you'd think as he grows with time, he'd probably get like a little less, awful. Because I also imagine if that was his logic, he'd also be like, women are less than and things like that.
Oh my God, wait, you're so right. Because, I mean, we'll have to, I would like to look up the politics of, like, what, he was 1920s? It's Spanish influenza when he got turned?
Yeah.
And they're, like, I guess when you're, like, it seemed like he was, like, a only son to a mom.
Yeah.
So maybe having a single mom. I'm just projecting. I feel like he had a single mom.
Yeah.
Stephanie Meyer was also, like, super Catholic, though. I think that informed a lot of her writing.
Oh, yeah, it comes through in the second book, and we'll get there when we get there, that, like, Carlisle's like, and I'm super religious, by the way.
Super religious. By the way.
And I can't wait till we get there.
It was a great time.
But right now we're here. Oh, and speaking of Edward's backstory, we kind of launch into, like, Edward's backstory after this kiss. We learned that he was born in 1901, and he died in 1918 of the Spanish influenza.
Yeah, he did. That's where we get the lore.
So they're driving back, and Edward's just like, here's the entire history of my family. Boy, does Stephanie Meyer just love to go on just, like, tangents of, like, backstory. And this is one of them.
I can't wait. Just wait until we get to Jasper's backstory. So, picking up, they have kissed in the meadow. Edward is talking, like we said. He was born in 1901. What a flex. What is that even
Great year to be born.
Great year.
Turn of the century.
Laura and I have been there, and we gotta say, what a time to be alive.
Turn of the century, 1901. Best year for the Industrial Revolution.
And he was dying of the Spanish influenza, 1918, like we said. But that part of the 1900s, we didn't like that part when we were there.
Yeah. And it's fine that he died in 1918 of the Spanish flu, because, like, right after that was the Roaring Twenties. They said, no more flu.
No more flu.
We're gonna party this out. And then everybody got really sad in the Great Depression. And that's a history lesson for everybody.
Exactly. I do feel like Bella asked the wrong questions, because if someone had lived through all of the 1900s, why wouldn't your first question be like, what decade was your favorite?
Yeah, also, like, Maggie, Bella constantly asks the wrong questions. We still have not learned how Edward can read minds. She's never been like, how the hell does that work?
Oh, wait, they do actually talk about that. So,
do they?
I was kind of curious to ask you what yours would be, if you had a power, because it's like, whatever your strongest human trait is what it is. So he can read minds because he's like a really sensitive person as a human. I know.
Of course.
And then Jasper can like influence people's emotions because he was really tuned in to like when he was a leader, obviously, which we'll figure out later.
Yeah.
But he was really good at like calming people down. And then Alice's, I'm gonna be so honest, we'll get to her lore later, because that's also a big part of New Moon, but I think it like impacted, like, she was like lonely for a while, and that's why she
can
maybe
see
she
into
just
the future.
Her imagination's pretty strong, but it's like whatever in your human trait. I feel like I'd be pretty close to Jasper. I think I'm very good at navigating people's emotions.
Yeah.
So I think that I could probably do something like calm people down if I was a vampire.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like, like, if you're empathetic, you'd probably be that. But it's like, I wouldn't want want to read people's minds. That sounds awful.
No, I wouldn't want that as
Yeah,
my trait.
if I'm just an anxious person, would my superpower just be that I can make people feel on edge all the time? I walk into a room and everyone's immediately nervous.
Yeah, mine is just trauma dumping. I think I would like, if we could pick what we are with vampire, I would like to be the opposite personality of mine. So I would like my skill to be time management.
I would like to be a type A vampire. Thank you very much.
Exactly. You just like really get stuff done.
Imagine they're like, yeah, Alice can see into the future and Edward can read minds and Jasper's really good at calming people down and Maggie is so type A.
He's really good at being an administrative assistant to their own life in their spare time.
That's so funny.
So that's a little bit of lore on how Edward can read minds and also, I guess, Spanish influenza. He was turned. He does talk a little bit to Bella about being turned because Carlisle was lonely, essentially. And he
also felt bad for Edward. Like, that's it. He was lonely and he felt bad.
He was lonely. He felt bad. Edward was the first one who was turned. And then it was Esme who fell off a cliff. And then Rosaline was turned because Carlisle was like, well, I have this baddie on my arm. Edward needs a baddie.
This was one of the funniest details in this book because I love that Carlisle's like, well, I made myself a partner. I guess I'll get Edward a girlfriend. And then Edward didn't want to date her.
This girl who's like described as super hot,
Imagine you're destined to like centuries of just living because you're a vampire, and it's like, great, you're gonna be kind of lonely, maybe you'll be friends with this guy because you guys aren't interested in each other.
I know. Do you think vampires can go to therapy? Because if it was like, okay, I turned to you because I kind of want you guys to be together, and this guy is like, actually no, I'd be like, well, what is my purpose then in life? I guess
know. Carlisle was really the originator of Married at First Sight, and it did not work for him.
He got his marriage certificate online and was like, well, I gotta do this sometime.
I would just love if this like series had just this giant backstory of Carlisle trying to find Edward a person, and he just keeps turning women into vampires. And so then there's like 50 women. It's like The Bachelor, and Edward has to like go sift through all of these women, and then he's like, no, don't want this one.
No,
either.
don't. And now I guess they're just in our coven.
Yeah. And oh my God, Bella walks into their castle, and there's just like 50 women there, and they're all like, hi, Edward. And Edward's like, oh, sorry, these are all my exes. Carlisle's really been trying to find me someone for a while.
Oh my God, that would fucking suck to date someone like that. And then it's just like all their exes are around
all the time.
So Rosaline did, though. She did find love because she found Emmett, who was like attacked by a bear, and she was like, yes, this one's mine.
Great. I love this guy who's being torn to pieces by an animal. That's so hot to me.
He's getting the Revenant treatment with Leonardo DiCaprio. And he says, obviously, like I ran through, Alice sees the future, and she got that skill.
And she also doesn't know how she became a vampire. Carlisle did not turn her, notably. So she just kind of showed up one day.
Yes, and Alice showed up, and she also saw that Jasper was going to, like, seek out the Cullens, and he kind of found them. So he also wasn't turned by the Cullens.
Yeah. So that's the little Cullen family history that we get. Bella asks no immediate questions. She's just like, information accepted, as robotic as she is.
Yes, no questions. And then
literally
no questions whatsoever. So they are back at not the Cullens, they're at the Swan's house, and Edward comes in while Bella's like cooking dinner, and he admits something that is truly, I would die of embarrassment. He says, oh, by the way, I've been watching you sleep, and I can hear you talk in your sleep, and you said my name. That's when I figured out that I liked you, and I wasn't going to kill you.
And yeah, and it's very important to emphasize here. It's not just Edward saying like, oh, I watched you sleep. One night. He's watched her sleep every single night since she's been in Forks, Washington. And
dude, that's Bella, my worst nightmare. That's so scary.
Also, like, does Bella not get up to pee in the middle of the night? Because I absolutely do. And like,
yeah, and if he can't read your mind, it's not like he can sense it. He's probably like fumbling, like, oh shit, I gotta get in the closet. Fuck. She's getting up to pee again.
Oh god. Yeah, and so like this is like also like this would be too much for me. I would be like, absolutely not. You can get the fuck out. That's creepy as fuck.
I do. No. I mean, like, yes, saying his name, but I would be more so scared. But that's the thing that she fixates on. She's like, so you heard me say your name? Oh no.
Oh, whoa. It's like not like there's a killer that comes into my room every night. It's like Awful.
Bella doesn't want to set a boundary, though. This is just going to be the norm now. He's just going to sleep over, watch her in her sleep, run his hand along her jaw, make Virgin Meg reading this for the first time go crazy.
And the next morning, like, they wake up, and Bella's like, wasn't it a nice night of watching me sleep again? Because Edward truly, I guess, has no hobbies. Like, bring a book at least.
I know. It's really just watching her sleep.
And they have this whole exchange of, like, you are my life now. And I'm like, y'all have been dating a month.
I love it. They start playing like 20 questions. Edward says,
as they always do.
Edward says, this is when they have the conversation about the powers are things that they brought from their humanity into their future, and he's sensitive. My power, honestly, actually, I think my power would be identifying celebrities without IMDb.
Wow, you could play 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon at the drop of a hat.
Exactly. I'm like, my facial recognition for people in real life? Shit. Celebrities? Absolutely.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
She does ask if someday they'll fuck, and he's like, I don't know if that's possible, but trust I wanna hit that.
This dick don't work like it used to because it's been dead for 100 years.
The Spanish influenza made it limp.
Yeah, I don't know. Do vampires, like, have blood? Can they get the bone? I don't know.
I don't know.
Stephanie Meyer, give us the information that we want about these weird vampires that you've created.
Wait, you're so right, because it's not like they have blood in their body, so how does it get hard? So it's after a feeding session, they just have a raging hard-on for days. I guess. They're so pumped full of blood like mosquitoes.
Yeah, maybe they ingest the blood and that goes straight to their penis. I picture all of the listeners of this conversation just being like, nope, we're walking away from this episode. Okay. And the people who are staying, you're the real ones.
We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back to cutesy. So the next morning, Edward invites her to meet his family. It's family time. They're not going to fuck, but they're going to meet the family.
Which is just like fucking, but more wholesome.
And he does tell her to introduce him to Charlie as her boyfriend. They're just boyfriend and girlfriend now.
They're just accelerating through this relationship, honestly.
They really are. The Cullens are like really receptive to her, but Emmett and Rosalie, they aren't there because it seems like Rosalie kind of has a problem with her around.
Yeah.
And Esme does kind of goad Edward into playing piano for Bella, and he's like, I've been working on this little ditty for you. And it's just like a beautiful composition.
Yeah.
Bella's Lullaby.
And then we get a lot more just backstory here. They give her a giant tour of the vampire house, and Carlisle just like goes on and on and on for pages about vampire history. Yeah. I didn't write anything notable here. It's because it didn't seem important.
I did write one notable thing, which was while Edward was playing piano, he sees Bella crying and drinks her tear, which is beautiful.
That's horrendous to me.
Yes.
If Nick ever licked one of my tears off of my face, I don't think I would talk to him for a week. I'd be like, we need to go to therapy.
Yeah, I feel like that would be something. And like Laura said, there's a little bit of lore. I feel like the most notable is that Carlisle was turned in the early 1600s. New Decade just dropped. And he was actually hunting vampires for his pastor dad when one attacked him. So he's got some like internalized vampire phobia, which as a gay, I understand. I empathize with Carlisle. That's probably really hard to get over.
Yeah. But then Alice waltzes in, being like, "Oh, you guys are playing piano and giving the house tour? It's baseball time."
Oh yes, we get baseball
time. Invite Bella
to
baseball. It's baseball time. Which is probably the weirdest side plot in this entire book, that they all just play baseball when it rains.
It fucking slaps in the movie. They put it to Supermassive Black Hole. That song. Oh, what a great scene.
After the whole shenanigan of meeting Edward's family, but Edward takes Bella home because he's a gentleman, and Jacob and his father are there on the doorstep, and Edward's immediately tense.
Yeah, because it seems like they're about to say something about Bella's new boyfriend, and Billy kind of indicates that he like knows what the Cullens are, and just like warns her, hey, be safe, because no shit.
Yeah, and she's like, don't need it. I don't need these people telling me how to live my life.
Don't need it. That's okay.
These people don't understand him.
She does, while she's home, get a call from Jessica. Jess is like, oh my god, I have to talk to you about Mike, but Bella's such a bad friend. She's so spacey. She's got a lot on her plate. She's dating a vampire now.
Bella is such a bad friend. Like, she's literally like, Jess, that's great. By the way, I need to hang this up so I can go talk about Edward more.
I know, seriously. Yeah, exactly. She's like, Jess, honestly, I don't have time. I have to go get baseball. It's baseball time.
It's baseball time. Sorry, Jess.
America's favorite pastime, baseball.
Yeah, and also apparently vampires' favorite pastime, baseball.
And they can only play when it storms, as we know. They need the lightning to and thunder to cover it up.
Yeah.
So they're about to go play baseball, and then Alice has a vision that 3 vampires are approaching, and they kind of scramble. They're like, what do we do? We gotta hide Bella's scent. And they kind of scoot her behind Edward to shield her.
And you want to know what I think is so funny about this baseball thing? Is it's just like, baseball is not an interesting sport. And I also feel like these vampires are so old, especially Carlisle. He was in the 1600s and baseball was invented in the late 1800s. So he had 200 years of no baseball. And suddenly he's like, this is my favorite thing ever. But wouldn't it be funny if he was playing an actual old game sport that he knows from the original Olympics? He's like, we're playing shot put.
That would be really fun.
We're gonna do javelin.
I feel like he'd be obsessed with croquet, because that seems like that's the oldest sport to me without researching.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm in disbelief that baseball would be the vampire sport of choice, you know?
They should play baseball the way I play kickball, which is every time I kick the kickball, when I kick the ball, every time if it goes really well, I run around the bases and I go, I'm doing Moneyball right now. You know that movie with Brad Pitt?
That's what they and Alice should have seen the entire Moneyball film with her vision and explained it to everybody so they all understood the reference.
Alice is just spacing out, and they're like, Alice, what vision are you having?
She's it must be so important. On a baseball field.
Open on a baseball. Brad Pitt is saying, isn't baseball the most romantic sport? They're like, are you watching an entire movie right now?
They're all eating popcorn.
So Alice does have a legitimate vision, which was the 3 vampires approaching.
Yes.
It seems like it's going okay. Carlisle is having a very casual conversation with Laurent, James, and Victoria until a breeze picks up Bella's scent and James really locks on. He's like, fuck, I gotta have it.
Vampires are going sicko Ocean 11's mode right now. They're heisting Bella out of here, honestly. That's literally what this entire last part of the book is they're like, we gotta protect her. Gotta protect this jewel in front of us.
Exactly. Edward's kind of shuffling her away. Laurent is like, okay, wait, that's fine. But Edward does read James' mind, and James is in fact charting a plan to hunt Bella because he's a tracker now, which is someone who tracks.
Yeah, someone who tracks humans for fun. Maybe it sounds like that's his power and he gets a kick out of it.
See, he's doing something well with his vampire. That shit's fun. I'd be bored as fuck living forever.
I feel like if a vampire, if you were a tracker, you could just make such a good living as a bounty hunter. Why wouldn't you just do that instead of killing people, you know?
I think I would see how many celebrities I could get away. Oh, politicians I could get away with killing.
That would be...
That's so smart.
That is really smart. James should use his powers for good.
Exactly.
So they're in rush mode. They have to get Bella out of Forks as soon as possible, and everybody is springing into action. And Bella, this entire time, I don't think understands the severity of the situation, because she's like, well, I don't want to leave without you, Edward. And Edward's like, literally, he's going to murder you, and there's nothing I can do to protect you from that.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'll stay back, because if I go with you, that will just be suspicious. It'll cause alarm. He's gonna expect it. And she kind of considers Charlie's safety. She's like, I can't really leave him unattended. But not as much as I think she should. That's her dad. That would be the first thing that I would be stressed about. And then I would also probably be like, I should stop fucking around with this family.
Yeah,
my fucking dad's gonna get murdered.
This is a really bad idea. I'm putting a lot of people I care about in danger. But Bella doesn't seem to care about, kind of cares about Charlie, but not really.
I know. So she goes in.
She's more worried about her loss of Edward, you know?
Oh, God. She goes in, she makes this whole scene. She's like, I'm going to go back to Phoenix. I can't stay in Forks. Kind of making it out like maybe her and Edward had a breakup so he doesn't, like, grow suspicious. Because how do you tell your dad? You're like, well, vampire might come for you.
Dad.
So she's trying to convince him that she's leaving, says it's a breakup, and doesn't want to end up stuck in this town like Mom. Which, why'd we have to add salt to the wound?
Yeah, why do you have to get, like, Bella just feels like she went, like, way too hard into this bit, where it's just like, all you had to say was, I need to leave. And, like, and then you're going into, like, by the way, I also hate you. I hate this town. I don't want to wind up like my mom who divorced you because you trapped her.
Yeah, she's really trying to justify selling this performance by saying the meanest thing possible.
Yeah, and it's just like, buddy, you don't have to hurt his feelings. He's a good guy. It's just Charlie.
And so she's going to leave, and James isn't going to attack tonight, it seems, because he's just like, well, not tonight. Laurent does go to the Collins home to warn them about James and is like, hey, don't underestimate him. He's pretty strong.
Yeah, like Lauren's like, buddy, I would love to try to help here, but like when James is tracking, he's tracking. Can't do anything about it.
Oh, get you a man that could.
Literally.
Who shows up. So Alice and Jasper, they take Bella in their car, and Carlisle and Edward, it seems like they're going to try to hunt James.
Yeah.
Bella, the next day, she's waking up in a hotel room. She keeps asking Alice and Jasper why everyone's risking their lives for her. They're like, you're a family. Like, and I'm just this frumpy brunette.
Yeah, they drove overnight to Arizona, which I like from Washington. That's such a long drive.
I know. Yeah, they're down in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't worry, we're standing up for you because Edward's personality has lightened so much since you've been here. We can't imagine another 100 years of him living without you. And I did write here that I ended reading because that sentence did make me cry.
Oh no, Maggie,
oops. I'm in my feels.
Bella takes all this information and goes, that's nice. Let me do what I do best and ask meaningless questions. How do I become a vampire?
Yeah.
And again, like, this was, like, what was pissing me off about this is, again, it's, like, there's no, like, I wonder what's happening in Washington. I wonder if he's near. It's, like, how do I become a vampire? How do I be with Edward forever?
And readers, you're never going to guess how it is. It's through a venomous bite. Exactly how you would expect.
And I'm gonna be honest, the logic of vampires having venom is so weird to me. Like, I get it because like they're like it's like a bite, but it feels like it should be just kind of like, oh, vampires they vampire you. It doesn't have to be explained in depth, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It really doesn't.
They're not snakes.
They're not snakes. They're not rattlesnakes. They're just they're
just misunderstood.
Exactly. They just need to be in therapy. Alice does have a vision of a room of mirrors. They realize the tracker's plans have changed, and he's in this room of mirrors now, so she draws it out, and Bella recognizes it.
How good of an artist do you have to be to draw, like, a picture of a room that could easily be distinguished as, like, a room you've seen before? Like, that would have taken hours to do, because it's not like you could just do a piece of notebook paper and be like, okay, and, like, here's the walls.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I could recognize rooms very easily.
Especially rooms from, like, your childhood.
Yeah. Like, I really don't. I was like, maybe my bedroom back home, but if you just draw a room with a bed in it, I'd be like, that's just a room with a bed in it.
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't recognize this at all.
So Bella does recognize it. One of them has talents, and we don't know who. It's her old ballet studio, so she calls her mom, tells her to call her back because now she's worried about her mom because this ballet studio is, like, near her mom's house.
Yeah.
And Alice has a new vision, and it's of her mom's house that she's drawing. So now Bella's, like, freaking out. She's like, he's gonna kill my mom.
Yeah, and so Bella gets a call back from her mom's number, and it's James. He's there. They didn't. What I also don't understand is as all of this was happening, they weren't like, let's move further away from Arizona. This was too obvious. They're like, well, I guess we're just gonna wait it out till he gets here.
Yeah, we're gonna stay at the Four Seasons.
Yeah, so James calls Bella, and he has her mom, and it's very scary. But also, like, couldn't Alice have predicted that James was gonna be in Arizona? Like, she's just like, I'm seeing rooms, but wouldn't she be able to predict that James was going to call Bella? Because he's a tracker, and, like, she sees things that are very set in stone in the future.
Yeah, I guess her skill...
And, like, this was clearly a part of his plan.
Her skill is, like, predicting the future, but it's kind of useless. It's, like, useless things. So you're like, I kind of have puzzle pieces that might help, but I don't know the whole picture.
She's like, I can see rooms. Is that helpful?
Exactly. So, one of the contingencies for him having her mom is she has to get away from her friends, because there's like, she can hear her mom on the phone, like, begging for help. And then Alice has a vision of Bella in the mirror room, so it's, like, doubly hard to get away from her friends, because it's like, well, now they kind of know.
Yeah, and what's also awful here is that Bella's like, clearly I need to... Bella... stupidly doesn't just like trust that she can tell Jasper and Alice about this. She thinks like, I can fix this myself by like just going to James and talking it out. I don't know what she's thinking.
So they're gonna make a pit stop at the like what is your sense of logic here?
Well, and then she's also like, I want to write like a letter to my mom in case like worst case scenario happens. And then she decides to write a letter to Edward instead. Like, and I'm like, you're not going to write a single letter to your parents in the event that, like, you do die. Like, come on. That's awful, Bella.
Yeah, she writes it like it's like a wanderlust thing. She's like, I'm sorry, I just had to go off and do this thing. I just had to do it for myself.
But they're going to take her to the airport to, like, finally get her somewhere else.
Yes, and Edward is flying in, too, so...
Which also, like, shouldn't he, like, just run? Like, how long can the vampires run for? It seems like forever, probably, because they're not living.
I don't know, but is that on our shoulders to question how beautiful this book is?
This bitch, he's going to spend the hour it takes to drive to the airport, spend the hour it takes to, like, check in, go through security, spend, like, the hour that it takes to like wait for your time to board. It takes for everyone to sit down. It takes for the plane to actually sit down and launch. You're gonna take probably from Seattle to Arizona, probably at least a 2-3 hour flight, and then you're gonna take another hour long car from the airport. That's 5 hours. Like,
exactly. Also, wouldn't you just want to like skip the line? Like, I would run purely to skip the line at TSA. I'd be like, fuck, I don't want to do that. You know what, let me just run 7,000 miles instead.
Yeah. Because it seems like he can run pretty fast.
It seems, yeah. They say that Edward is the fastest of them, but nope, he's gonna fly. He can't beat an airplane.
He can only run short distances. He can only do the 100 meters.
Exactly. I would love to see him in a marathon. It's like that incredible scene where they're like telling Dash to like slow down. They're like, no, come back. So they head to the airport. Bella is scheming on the low.
She's scheming.
She says that she has to go to the bathroom, and she's also hungry, and she wants Jasper to go with her, which that would raise so many alarms. I'd be like, excuse me, why do you want my boyfriend to escort you to the bathroom?
Yeah, no, it's like, I also can't believe Alice didn't, like, see this coming, too, because, like, Bella, like, just ends up, like, going to the bathroom and running. And it's like, I feel like, again, Alice would have been able to predict this.
I know, but it's not our job to question the plot holes because it's such a beautiful
Maggie,
book.
We have a podcast. It's kind of our job to question the plot holes.
No, because it's such a good book that we can't. So she goes to this bathroom. She runs out a different door that leads to an elevator down to the cabbie level. What is the layout of this airport?
It's just very easy to exit, apparently. I feel like every time I try to leave an airport, I'm always like...
I get so confused.
Okay, is this arrivals? Is this departures? Okay, but the Ubers are here, and the buses are here, and the shuttles are here. Is this right? Is this where I'm going?
I know, and they have to tell you which one is cabs and which one is Ubers, and they're never in the same place.
No, they're never in the same place. But she takes a shuttle to a hotel and then finds a cab to go to her mom's house. So she is just ping-ponging all around here. And James calls her the moment she's there and says, get your sweet little honey to this ballet studio. You know where it is, girl.
Yep. So she gets there and, he's just playing a distressed home video of her mom that he lifted from her house. Got her ass. Time to die, I guess.
Sorry, Bella. You just got tracked.
And to make matters worse, he's about to film her death for Edward. Honestly, that's like so diabolical that it's kind of hot. I said that and I was like...
That's so diabolical. It's kind of hot.
We do get a little bit of background too here because he says originally he was after Alice, who was in an asylum when she was human, but the guy who loved her turned her, so James killed him. Twist
alert. So James does know how Alice was turned, which is fun little circle moment, I guess. And Bella is like, you want to know what I'm gonna do? I'm I'm gonna run because that's gonna fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And it backfires so quickly.
Absolutely. He throws her against a wall. She slams her head, cracking it.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, and it's like basically like we don't get the details of how much James just wrecks her. We just basically get she is on the ground wreathing unconscious.
We get the head cracking. He steps on her leg and breaks it, and then he fucking knocks her face again, and her head is just like bleeding.
I can't believe, like, I feel like she would have lost, like, all of her teeth, you know? Like, it feels like this, like, the force of this.
And she's like, she's losing her teeth, and she's like, fuck, how is Edward gonna love me if I'm toothless? That's her first thought.
I can't have vampire fangs if I don't have any canines.
She's like, I wish I could Google how much veneers are right now.
She goes, wait, just Google that for me.
Just Google, that's her last thought as she's dying. Is Googling veneers. She does pass out at this point because the pain is so much.
Yeah, and the blood loss makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And she lucid dreams that Edward is there, which he is.
Yeah.
But amidst it all, cutting through this fog is this burning sensation in her hand where James bit her.
Yeah.
Not good. Not good
Yeah. News. And so she's hearing voices. Apparently all the vampires have gotten here way too late. Maybe there's a flight delay or something, but Carlisle's instructing...
They got a red eye.
Carlisle's instructing Edward, being like, you have to be the one to suck the venom out, Edward.
Yeah.
So she's hearing basically all of the things that they're doing to save her.
He's like, Edward, can I call you Edward? Edward, buddy, you gotta suck out that poison. And boy...
He's like, I know I'm the most educated and oldest vampire here, but I think you need to do it.
And in the movie, they kind of make it more conflicted than it is, because I would say Edward sucks it out, like, relatively easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of like, okay.
And then, like, yeah, truly, I take so many detailed notes that the fact this scene moved so fast that, like, we're just carrying her as she passes out and wakes up in the hospital.
I'm, like, shocked that we have so much build up to this, like, giant fight. And it's, like, I feel like James wouldn't have made this fight so quick either. I feel like he would have, like, said a lot more things. I feel like he would have done like one thing at a time. I was really expecting like this long, drawn out, gruesome scene about this tracker vampire ready to just like torment this young woman.
I know. And then also, like, the fact he was tracking over Alice, like, too. Honestly, if we could have, like, any sub-book from this, I would be very curious to hear about, like, his life and also tracking Alice. That's so interesting.
That's so interesting. But unfortunately, we have to focus more on Bella, the least interesting protagonist I've ever met. And she's going to wake up in the hospital, and her mom is there. And we learn that Edward and the team... They all put their vampire noggins together and said, how are we going to sell this to the humans?
Edward says she fell down 2 flights of stairs and out a window. He was like, whoops, my clumsy girlfriend.
And everybody's like, no questions asked. That can happen to anybody.
Yes, he says Jasper and Emmett took care of James when she wakes up. He lets her know that. And now Alice, I guess, knows the truth about her life, and no one is questioning. I'm sorry. Like, if I was the mom, I would be like, okay, around this guy, I feel like you beat her up. That is what my thought would be.
The fact that the mom is so uncaring in this scene is very weird. She's acting so like, oh, wow, thank God you're up. Crazy that this happened to you. And her mom like basically says like, oh, me and my boyfriend are moving to Florida. Bella, isn't that gonna be so fun that you can live in Florida with me? And then she's like, I'm gonna leave the hospital and come back later. Hope you feel better. Like, she's not gonna stay by her kid's side, who's literally almost died.
I know. Instead, she brings up the Florida, and then she's also like, hey, by the way, Bella, I think he might be in love with you. I would be like, and I think that's cause for concern, because why are you in the hospital?
Literally, I'd be like, Bella, I do not know this person, and I'm very concerned for your safety right now. How do I know that, like, he's not the cause for all of this? Yes.
We do go from the hospital right to Edward kind of surprising Bella by taking her somewhere that he's not going to tell her, and it's prom. Surprise.
Yay. At prom, Jacob does cut in. He's at prom even though he doesn't go to the high school.
Yes.
And he's tall now. He's went through puberty in the past 6 months.
Yeah, he's really tall.
Like literally there's a note in the book, listeners, that says like Jacob is tall now. And he's just like warning her, being like, wow, so you're still dating the vampire, just be careful, Bella. And Bella, instead of wanting to lose her virginity on prom night, is really just hoping Edward's going to finally turn her into a vampire, but he's not.
He's not going to, no.
No.
Also, Tyler showed up to her house because he thought he was bringing her despite no confirmation, which I thought was very funny.
That is really funny. See, some parts of this book are like genuinely hilarious.
Yes.
Like this whole like fabricated story of how Bella like fell out, the fact that like Tyler like showed up and wanted to take her to prom and no confirmation. And I can't tell if it's like trying to be funny or if it's like Stephanie was like, and I'm just gonna like, and this is part of the story. And I kind of wish that like we leaned into these stupid details more and just had more of them, because if this book was just genuinely funny, I would love it so much more if it was just like genuinely like, we're gonna make this kind of stupid.
But unfortunately, it has to take itself really seriously and be like super romantic and one of the best books I've ever read. Unfortunately,
that's a opinion I cannot agree with. Unfortunately.
Also, I don't get why. Like, I mean, yes, the Cullens show up to prom and they're moving and grooving and they're having a good time. I don't get why they don't want to go to prom every year. That would be one of the things I'd be so excited about being in high school again. Oh, I get to get a new dress, maybe a suit. Fun.
That sounds fun.
I'd go into credit card debt. Well, I guess you wouldn't, because you accrue. I guess they have so much money. So
we learn in the second book that they like play the stock market really well. Great for them.
They do.
But I feel like if like I also just don't really understand like if you're a vampire that you don't just like constantly travel, because I feel like they try to like stay put in places forever, but it's like, wouldn't you just like always be on the move? Like a nomadic lifestyle as a vampire, like I get every few years settling down, but I feel like there's so many things to see. You could go just like, you could tour with a whole band for a year and just see what that's like.
Absolutely.
Or like I feel like the Cullens are not being adventurous. They're just like, yep, and when we go to Alaska or Seattle because that's good for our skin.
Yeah, so I guess that's where I would go to prom every year, but the book ends on them going to prom, Edward basically being like, I'm not going to turn you, and Bella being like, but please, we can spend forever together, and Jacob Black being like, break up with your boyfriend, because I'm bored.
Break up with your boyfriend, because I'm bored.
I know we didn't talk about doing a top 5, but I did have one in the notes, which was just, obviously, I would want to go to prom every year. But what are some top 5 things we would do? Or, we collectively. What do you think we would do if we were vampires together?
Oh, my God. I feel like we would spend one lifetime being just, like, comedy duo that travels around doing comedy duo stuff. Yeah, that is absolutely one thing we would do
for sure.
I feel like we would also go to so many amusement parks because there's so many just in like Dubai and around the world. We would do an amusement park tour.
Ooh, we wouldn't be afraid of anything. We could do what I want to do, which is like a road trip in an RV and hit all of the haunted hotels.
Yeah, because like we're spooky, like nothing, ghosts can't scare us. Ghosts are like, you're one of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would love to live in Greece.
Yeah, we would live in Greece for a little bit. And yeah.
You know what we could do? The other one to round out the 5? Eurovision.
We would do Eurovision.
We
would become a citizen in like the UK or like a country that we could get away with like doing an accent in and being like, we speak English and we are here. We would make a kick-ass song and we would compete in Eurovision. We probably wouldn't win because we are not songwriters, but we'd get pretty far with our infectious energy.
I like that 2 of our top 5 are like the big no-nos from the Volturi, which is like get fame and critical adoration. We're like, okay, so we would draw attention to ourselves by doing these things.
What do the Volturi know? What do they know?
Exactly.
Name 3 things they know.
Have you ever almost won Eurovision? Because we didn't either in this hypothetical.
Oh, that's so funny. Who would be the canceled character for this book?
Oh my goodness. I mean, James is the obvious answer.
I think I want to say Laurent because I feel like he should have done more to intervene because like James is his guy. Like Laurent literally like just like took his hat off, walked to the Cullens and went, "Hey, sorry your girl's about to die. Well, See you out there.
That is true. Okay, you know what? I'll say that because when you have friends, you're accountable for those friends sometimes too.
Like, the other thing I would say is maybe her mom for just being so nonchalant about her daughter being just, like, in broken boned body state, but I feel like Lauren takes the cake.
That is true because I mean, like, Charlie kind of notices that before they go to prom, and he's like, I'm kind of concerned about my daughter being like this is when he starts not liking Edward and Fair.
Literally, like, wait a minute, my daughter never went to the hospital until she met Edward. That's kind of weird that she's been twice now.
And it was on family vacation with his family. It feels like they're covering up something.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, I will concede, though. I think Laurent, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
That makes sense, yeah. Well, great, we did it. Then we will be back next week with New Moon. Which I really need to power through and read more of, but boy, am I bored.
Oh my gosh, I'm like almost done with Eclipse.
That's so funny, Meggie. We've truly switched places
we
this
have.
season.
Hey, every season, one of us is cooking.
Every season, one of us has to take a walk in the other's shoes, you know?
Exactly. One of us has to cook so the other can eat tomorrow.
Wow, that's a beautiful saying.
Thank you.
So true.
And if you want more beautiful sayings from Laura and us, you can follow us on TikTok and Twitter at Yeah We Read It. We post sometimes.
Yeah, we'll be better about it one day. But if you want to be ahead of the game or stroll through the posts that are already there, there's some gems.
Yeah, I'll tweet out ACAB for everyone except Charlie Swan right now.
Please tweet that right now. That's hilarious.
Thank you.
And then, you can also follow us on Instagram at Meggie and Laura. We post there sometimes too. But that's going to be it for this episode of Yeah We Read It.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.